welcome to the Bleeding Hearts Club, where we alchemize pain into something beautiful together. I'm your co-host, Shroot. I'm an astrologer who uses astrology as a self-reflective tool for healing and growth, and this is my co-host.
Hi, y'all. My name is Stevie. I am a tarot reader, Reiki practitioner, mental health professional, death worker. Nice to be here with you.
Happy to be here with you, Stevie. So, we understand that, everything is wild right now, and that's just like a collective problem internationally. That's not just uniquely an American problem where we are located. So we just wanted to take a moment and, acknowledge that this is a really hard time to be alive right now. It's a very uncertain time to be alive. There's a lot of volatility, a lot of violence. And so we hope that this podcast is like an anchor for you. It can be somewhat of a comfort for you in the middle of these hard times, and that we can provide a sense of grounding stability, and something to hold on to in these tough times. So, yeah, um, we hope that you are safe and that you are cared for and that you are leaning on your community and your community is leaning on you, and that, you know, you are a part of this community and we are really glad to have you here. So, um, today's episode, we will be answering a audience question. So thank you so much for submitting. Um, I'm really, really excited about this one. I think I really feel passionately that me and Stevie have um, a great vantage point when it comes to navigating this uncertainty. And so if you are dealing with anything that is not an emergency, not urgent, but you do want some self-reflective thoughts to ponder, some activities to try, some ways to kind of wrap your head or approach anything that you're going through in your life, feel free to write in. You can either DM us on the bleedingheartsclub.pod Instagram account, or you can email us at bleedingheartsclub.pod@gmail.com, and you're going to want to include your question. We would ask that you limit it to like 3, 4 sentences max of context, although we love context. And explain what your kind of situation is, ask your question, and give your birth information. You It's optional. You don't have to give your birth information, but we won't give you a tarot astrology reading if you don't give your birth information. So if you give your birth information, that's date, time, city, state, country, location. Um, then we will give you a mini tarot and astrology reading, that will help give you a little bit of grounding clarity for what you're going through. So we encourage you to write in and let us know your question. Also, I think it could be fun if we do voice notes. I've been thinking about this. I forgot to talk to Stevie about this in advance. Yeah, I'm springing this on Stevie. I think it would be kind of fun to do little voice notes. So if you want to ask your question via voice note, that's an option for sure. Um, let's see. If you curse, we'll bleep it. That's about maybe the only note. If we have to censor stuff, we will, unfortunately, because we live in a society that hates all of us. But other than that, yeah, I would say we're welcoming. You can send those, either a little audio attachment, although maybe that's not so safe for us. So maybe send it via Instagram. Just do the little audio recording thing and send it via Instagram. I think that's the best way for us to do it because I don't think I'm going to be opening attachments. Sorry. So, uh, yeah. So yeah, voice notes are cool too. You don't have to ask a question. You can also just send us a voice note. We would happy to play it on the podcast. That would be fun. So maybe limit those to like 30 seconds. Yeah. Okay. So you want to get into the questions, Stevie?
I really love the idea of a voice note. It reminds me of the intros to like Midwestern emo songs. So
Yes.
please help me.
Or like a rapper who uses an ex who's mad at him's voicemail. Yeah, same vibe. We're here for that.
I love that. It's true. It's true. Okay. Our audience question. Hi, my first DM, although I am a regular full-time listener and I re-listen to this podcast to move through life. Thank you. Yay. So I have a question that I would love to get guidance on. And there are two. How will I be making money in the next 12 months? Or if work for me right now is about making and being known for X thing, how does this work out for me in the next 12 months?
Thank you so much for asking. This is exactly the type of stuff that we're really interested in. And I think, considering you're a Capricorn rising, I don't know how happy you're going to be with our answer. However, I think I would be really interested to hear a follow-up on if you took any of our suggestions and how it played out for you, because um, this is the kind of thing where we like to take like a subconscious, a spiritual, a metaphysical approach to very material things. And so this is a perfect example of that. So if you have any questions like that, listeners, we're all always happy to take them. Even if maybe you're like, what are those answers? Those are not like practical. So we just want to disclaim as well that we are not predictive readers. We don't tell you, hey, follow these steps and this is what's going to happen. Our goal with any of our readings is to give you grounding clarity and context for what you're going through. We like to give you things to reflect on, things to think more about. We like to point out patterns that you may not notice that may be like beneficial to you either within yourself or in your interactions and relations to the world. We like to give you like activities that you can do that are supportive to, whatever outcome happens. It's like these are ways that you can navigate, and build self-trust to carry yourself and your community through XYZ thing. So that's kind of the approach that we're going to take for any of the readings, but especially this one. So, if you kind of walk away from this reading and be like, you didn't really answer the question, like, I just want to say that we did. We just answered it from this reflective perspective as opposed to a predictive one. So, yeah, you want to get into it, Stevie?
Okay, yes. I'm going to be using the Radiant Wild Atlas Tarot. Okay. I pulled one card and it was the moon. Hooray. I don't want to show my nails because they're a mess right now. But here it is. Okay. The affirmation that comes with this card in this deck is I delve into my inner world. So I feel like this card, and specifically around like making money or like doing work and guidance around that, is really about tapping into your subconscious and your inner world. What do you dream about? Like, what are the cryptic symbols that you're seeing in your dreams? Or what are you catching yourself daydreaming about? For me, I daydream a lot about being in a band and like singing and like just, yeah, a lot of horns. And I never do it, but I know that it's something that could potentially like bring a little twinkle in my eye and something that I want to do. So I'm curious what you daydream about. Like, where are you finding your mind wandering to? Not so much in a sense of like, I have to do this, I have to do this. These are the things that I have to get done, but more so like, it would be really cool if I did this, or I'd love to do this, but I can't. Or, all the things I think that you're trying to talk yourself out of. I think there's a lot of information there. So, what's taking up space in your inner world? Oh my God, a butterfly just flew past my window. Take that for what it is. Um,
What color?
I think it was yellow.
I love it.
Yellow butterfly. Yeah, what's taking up space in your inner world that you haven't felt like you're ready for or capable of bringing into this tangible world? And maybe hearing this, like, I'm intimidated by this cap rising situation, but like maybe hearing this makes you think like, no, just immediate no. Or maybe it brings anxiety, maybe it brings fear, maybe it just brings up complex emotions that like are making you feel like I don't know, what I'm talking about is not plausible to your situation. And maybe there's something that is coming to mind when I'm talking about these daydreams or talking about the subconscious, that you're thinking like, that's not like, you can't possibly be talking about that. But I think maybe it is. So this is an opportunity for you to really address this block and dismantle it, because who knows, this block may be present in this situation, but it may also be present in other areas of your life that aren't like immediately like visible as interconnected. I don't know. But yeah, the more you avoid it, the more you're avoiding this block, or the more that you're telling yourself no, the more you're reinforcing this idea or belief that it's something that you have to avoid, or that it's something that you have to devalue, which makes it even harder to like break down this wall once you actually feel ready, because you've already like instilled such heavy programming around it. So do a little exposure therapy, take baby steps, even if it's just one mini risk a day, it accumulates into something significant. And these mini risks are significant enough as they are. So, what is one risk that you're willing to take each day around this idea, around these daydreams, and just see what happens? I think if you're looking for something like an action step, it is taking one risk a day that aligns with whatever this goal is, whatever overcoming this block is. But yeah, that's the moon.
I love that. And I loved the way that that was what came up because when I pulled up the chart without looking at Stevie's tarot poll, the first thing I saw was that you have a Capricorn rising and that your Saturn, which rules Capricorn, is in your 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of subconscious, like very much associated with the moon tarot card in astrology, or sorry, the moon card in tarot is very much associated with the 12th house in astrology. And so this was going to come up on either end of the modalities, you know, whether it was tarot or astrology, subconscious work was going to be the thing that came up in response to this question. And the reason for that is because in astrology, when we look at the house of money, right, when we look at the house of even like skills, right, when you talked about, okay, if this is what I'm going to be doing to making money, that kind of implies like a skill that you're using. So that we look for in the second house of astrology, which has to do with our skills, our values, our liquid cash in the bank account, the resources we have available access to. And so you have your North Node in Pisces in the second house. And so what that means is that the question of, you know, what are you dreaming and what are you daydreaming? Like that is going to always be a source of fulfillment for you. Um, and I think there's an interesting dynamic happening in your chart where you are very Scorpio heavy, you were very Capricorn kind of vibey. And then you also have this like Scorpio is all ruled by this Aries Mars. So you have a chart that is very predisposed toward like thinking deeply about something and also taking very impassioned action towards stuff. So like you're kind of like you've got probably a lot of mastery in thinking and a lot of mastery in doing. Like you could probably really make it shake if you wanted to. But what you're being asked to do with a 12th house Saturn in Sagittarius and a North Node in Pisces in the second house is dream for the sake of dreaming. You know, dream without any attachment to action and outcome. Dream without any attachment to plan. So I agree with what Stevie's saying about do one small risk every day, because what I like about the risk aspect of this is there is no measurable outcome of a risk. Like, I know there can be like a binary, either this happens or it doesn't, but a lot of times taking a risk doesn't go the way we think it does. A lot of times things go left. So it's like, you know, what does it look like to engage with your dreams from the perspective of just them being dreams? And to not really try so hard to ground them into material reality. Because I think what you'll find is that you have a plethora of resources available to you on the subconscious plane that will have tangible impacts and downstream effects if you tap into them on your material resources. But it's kind of like the more you stay focused on the material, the more you close yourself off from the access to the subconscious. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of like you can't fully access all of your resources without like fully embracing the fact that some of your resources are subconscious. And in fact, a lot of your resources are subconscious. So, what does it look like to engage with your dreams from a much more, I don't know if detached is the right word, but like, I would say deconstructed from the process or like deconstructed from the plan or deconstructed from the taking action and to kind of spend more time with just the conceptual experience of dreaming and to see kind of like what comes up for you and what unfolds. I wouldn't be surprised if you take that kind of fire energy that you have of that Sag moon and that Aries Mars and you direct it in the direction of the subconscious. So let's give a, you know, a concrete example. It's like, let's say there's like a specific role that you're looking to do job-wise. And maybe I don't want to give anything specific, like, oh, I really want to work for this company or with this person. Like, I wouldn't say anything concrete like that, but more just like, this is the activity, this is the skills that I want to be using for work. Like, really focusing on the part that you have control over, like what you want to be doing. And really committing that kind of action-oriented energy into your subconscious. So, like, into the daydream. Like bring that fire energy into the daydream of like what would it feel like to do that thing? Like what would the experience in my body be? I would be so invigorated. I would be so excited. My inquisitive and deep, research mind would be put to such good use. Like so really just like let that kind of daydream unfold of what that would feel like and I wouldn't be surprised if, because you have a Sagittarius Saturn, like it's like putting that kind of drive into the subconscious practice of dreaming can probably open doors materially. And so you might get approached by somebody where they're like, "Oh, this person referred me to you. I heard you do this thing. Like, I would love to bring you on to do this thing." That kind of thing, you know? Like, so it's like I wouldn't think of it as like a pound the pavement, take action in the material realm, although you have obviously have to be ready for that. And knowing your chart, like, I don't think that that's like a concern for you to like not be ready for that. Like, you're so action oriented. But yeah, you want to kind of channel some of that action-oriented energy away from the material and toward the imaginative space, the creative space, because it will alter the way that people engage with you consciously. And also, I think there's an element of like people as a source of horizon expansion. So, because you have a Libra Venus in the ninth house. And so, to not get too long into this, like essentially, like what I think that can speak to is, um, I think because of your Scorpio placements, you might have to deal with Nuzzer or you might feel uncomfortable with speaking out loud, to people about like what's going on. So you may do this thing where you oscillate between oversharing and undersharing, like that kind of thing might be a struggle for you. What I would say is that if you can spend a lot of time in your subconscious and channeling that action-oriented energy into your subconscious, maybe the risks that you take are, in a specific room with a specific group of people, you channel that action-oriented energy that you spent with your subconscious and you make it known, hey, I'm looking for this. Hey, I want to do this. So it's like you channel all that energy into your ask, into your statement of like opening yourself up for XYZ thing. And then you kind of let your relationships, let your network be the thing that expands that thing into your reach. So that may be a way of taking this like woo concept that we're talking about and making it a little bit more material and a little bit more like realistic. But because the second house is Venus associated, I wouldn't be surprised if your money is like wholly dependent on your relationships, like professionally too, not just personally, obviously. Like, so yeah, I would say the way that you approach the networking piece energetically will go a lot smoother, more expansive, if you bring that kind of like subconscious work already done, and then you channel it in your engagement and in your conversations with people when you put yourself out there. So you can be strategic about putting yourself out there, and doing so with this like armor, this energy of this Sagittarius intensity of the dream that you embodied. In your ask. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully that's clear. Any thoughts, Stevie?
I really like the task, like the example of what taking a risk looks like, because I feel like in many cultures we're taught not to we're taught to move in silence where nobody knows what we're up to, nobody knows what our intentions and our goals and our dreams are. And so like even just speaking out loud like I'm looking for this thing in a group of people, yeah, that feels like a risk. So I just wanted to appreciate that.
Yeah, I have a lot of hot takes on Nuzzer and Evil Eye. So maybe we should make an episode about that because I think that would be fun to talk about because it's such a culturally universal experience and that would be fun. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. But yeah, I really believe that like A, if you're speaking to the right people, it's a positive thing. So there's a little bit of discernment involved in who you're sharing these vulnerable things with. I can give a quick example of like my Instagram stories. Um, I personally use the close friends on like my private account from like, before I started my business. I use the close friends stories. I only have like a handful of people on there and I use it to share kind of like stuff that I'm working on. A lot of times it's health related stuff. and stuff I'm excited about or stuff I'm frustrated about, but like just like a space where it's like it is kind of like generative is what I'm trying to do. Like where I've noticed that I tell people in my life who care about me what I'm going to do. And just the act of saying it helps like align things to make it happen. Like, so the kind of speaking it into existence thing really works for me. But I was always kind of warned about Nuzzer and I have experienced Nuzzer. And what I noticed was if I'm speaking it to a person who even subconsciously has ill intent toward me for whatever reason, like, yeah, that can be a negative thing. But I kind of did, this is so Scorpio 10th house of me, but I did like a measuring of like I would say something vulnerable that I knew could be like a nuzzer moment. And then I would feel out like, okay, if I experienced the nuzzer, who do I think was like contributing to that for better or for worse? And I experimented with taking people off my socials and then or off the close friends and then, trying again, posting something vulnerable. And I just kind of whittled it down and I got to a point where now I can post like the most like, oh, I got this amazing opportunity and da 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 da, like before it's even in my hand, you know what I mean? The exact thing that people tell you not to do, right? Like don't speak on XYZ thing before it's settled. I can speak on all those things. There's a complete safety that I have with like the 5 to 7 people on my close friends. And I know it's battle tested now. It's years, it's been 5, 6 years where I know that there's no nuzzer coming for me. And I know that like not only is there no nuzzer coming for me, there is a generative, like supportive encouragement energy coming toward me, which then like helps my like that's my subconscious kind of strategy is like I use that as subconscious support to keep me going. So um that's kind of what I've done is like I always make sure that like my closest friends I'm telling, but it took me a couple years of discernment of actively this is so Scorpio, like not everybody can or should do this, but I'm offering it to our listener because they have so many Scorpio placements, but um like sharpening your discernment and then using your words as a manifestation tool around other people in the context of uh like when you discern that it's like a a good opportunity, really valuable. There's a lot there. So yeah, that's what we have to say. Should we get into the Taroscope?
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, y'all. So much. My brain is not computing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should say we are doing the tarot horoscope for July 8th to August 12th. So, what that's worth. That's what this is referencing.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Consciously, I didn't know that. Subconsciously, it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So as always, I pulled 3 cards. Again, I used the Radiant Wild Atlas Tarot deck. Okay, let's just get into it. The first card that I pulled is the Four of Wands. Woohoo! And for those who can't see it, it's basically like a pregnant person, and there's like sun rays coming from like surrounding their head. And of course, it's a desert scape because that's what this whole deck is. Um, the affirmation for this one is I am at home within myself. And I feel like it's really weird to pull such a, I think, like happy and warm card considering the state of everything. Um, yeah, I feel really weird like giving this message, but I think it's also important to acknowledge that like multiple things can happen at the same time. We can hold vastly different realities and truths at the same time. So yeah, just a little thought there. But this card I feel like is asking us to shift into the frequency of gratitude. Um, Maybe life isn't perfect. I'm sure many things are not perfect. And in fact, life is a bit terrifying and uncertain and shaky. And I really want to acknowledge that and hold space for that. And at the same time, like you're alive, you're here, you're listening to this podcast, and your life is rich in many things that still deserve to be acknowledged and celebrated. For me today, I am celebrating that I'm alive. I'm 30 years old. Like I've always wanted to be 30. Um, Yes. I just moved into a new apartment. Like I feel very close to my friends. I hear crows cawing right outside. Butterflies keep flying by the window. So I think just making time and space to acknowledge these things, like, yeah, I'm terrified about a lot of things, and I feel really ungrounded in a lot of things. And there are many things in my life that I'm still grateful for that deserve that time and space to be acknowledged and like rooted into, almost as a way to continue to keep me grounded and secure as I'm navigating just the uncertainties of everything, the fear of everything that's happening. Um, so, this is an invitation to romanticize your life a little bit. Bring your awareness to the parts of your life that feel like home, that feel like you're able to access a sense of belonging, areas in your life that you feel safe in. Even if it's just like 10 minutes out of my day when nobody else is awake, nobody's asking me for anything, like nobody needs me for anything. It's just me. I feel safe. I feel at peace. And the rest of the day is hell. I'm not using that as like a personal like description, but just, I know that our capacity to have different moments for ourselves looks different. I'm thinking about parents specifically who need, a lot of people need them. Like their time is demanded by many things. But yeah, same for all of us. So, where do you feel at peace within your life, within yourself, within your home? And really just ground into it, appreciate it, savor it, um, and let that continue to hold you as we are moving through the day and the next day and the next day and the next. And maybe just acknowledging it, just acknowledging like where there are good parts of your life can help you feel a little more supported, a little more rooted. But yeah, that is the Five of Wands. Shroot, what do you think?
Oh, I love it so much. And it's so funny too, because once again, I did the astrology before Stevie pulled the tarot, and I left in my for my notes, I put I wanted to talk about Jupiter in Cancer first, and we talked about it last month, but I was like, I have a feeling I'm going to talk about it again. And this is like it was like first card, yeah. It was the same. We got it in the same order. Um, where yeah, this is so representative of Jupiter and Cancer. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of philosophy, higher thinking, broadening your horizons. Broadening your perspective. We talk about Jupiter expands whatever it touches, good or bad. It just gives you more to look at and more to reckon with, and it broadens your perspective on things. And so being in the sign of Cancer, Cancer energy is around nourishment. Cancer energy is what do we need to feel nourished and sustained and taken care of? And then how do we offer that to others, So, I think home being the kind of theme here is so important because for whatever, reasons, life experiences, predispositions, ancestral stories, the birth charts, whatever our, circumstances are, we all have a different relationship to home and we all have a different relationship. Some people take for granted how stable and beautiful and wonderful and supportive their homes have always been. Some people have like fought and clawed and struggled and sacrificed for having a safe home, some have had horrible experiences, don't even know the value of home, and have never bothered to try and figure it out. We all have kind of different positionalities that we're coming from, but regardless of those positionalities, this card and this month is asking us to really focus on like where can we find blessings in our sense of home. It doesn't have to be a physical dwelling, it can be anything, just like where do we feel like Stevie said, that sense of belonging, and how does that show up in our body, and what does a sense of nourishment, a sense of home, a sense of belonging bring up for you, and regardless of like traditional associations with the word home and maybe the mixed bag of experiences you have with that, um what does the feeling of belonging feel like to you, and what brings you that feeling? Where do you feel at home, truly, honestly at home? In astrology, we associate home with the fourth house, and a good analogy that I really like to talk about the fourth house is it's actually also the house of flow. It's the Cancer associated house. Who's shocked? And it has to do with like when we talk about flow, it's like the best analogy is when you come home from a long day at school or work and you take your bra off or you take your pants off, right? And it's just like I can walk around, tits ablaze in my underwear, like doing my thing. Just the rest of my day belongs to me. And what am I doing with it? And I'm in my home and I just get to be me. Like that feeling, that's the thing that you want to spend time with this month. And you want to go out of your way to access like gratitude around that, your relationship with that feeling that you've built for yourself of like, this is really nourishing to me. And like, be consciously like, yeah, this is very nourishing to me. And I'm really grateful for that. Like, you want to feel that in your body, because, um, we need that kind of safety. We need to cultivate that kind of safety right now in our lives in the midst of all this uncertainty. And I also think it's a good month to just like because we have kind of like a Leo activation for the next 2 months, in addition to this Cancer activation. So, um, they say home is where the heart is, right? And Leo is all about heart-centered, authentic expression. So I think like expressing a lot of gratitude for the places and spaces, whether that's even just in your imagination, like the places and spaces where you're able to express yourself wholeheartedly. So not just the being at home, the cultivating gratitude for that, but also cultivating gratitude for the ways in which you are yourself at home. So yeah, that's what I was.
It's a blaze. Love that. Incredible. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
All right, the next card is Five of Cups reversed. And it's this like little ominous
It's
figure
beautiful.
just floating, but upside down because the card's upside down. Okay. I I want to say that there's maybe a lesson that you had to learn the hard way. I don't know what it is, but I am imagining that it brought up a lot of pain, a lot of shame and discomfort, and questions about who you are as a person. I feel like a strong sense of questioning whether or not you're a good person, whether or not you're a good friend, and like just really reckoning with what self worth looks like. And that is really hard. And I really want to like hold space and send you love because I think, dang, we're not perfect people. And yet we really expect perfection out of others. And I know that we talk about it all the time of, like if you're in community with people, you're going to disappoint each other. You're going to disappoint yourself. And I recently heard, I forgot, maybe on TikTok or something, but like the price of community is inconvenience too. And so, yes, enthusiastic nods from Shroot on the other end here. I just, I'm thinking about so many things, but right now I'm watching Love Island and The Queer Ultimatum, second season. And as much as I love reality TV, and I love it, I fear I keep up with the Kardashians every week continuously. I just love brain rot, but I really am thinking about how these are real people. And yeah, they're making decisions, they're acting in a certain way that maybe we think we wouldn't act in. Like we wouldn't behave in these ways if we were in the same situations, or maybe we'd say I'd never put myself in the same like this situation at all. That's great. Okay. But like I think we're seeing such limited perspectives of people and we're making really heavy judgments about them in just the glimpses that we're seeing in who they are, how they act, how they connect with other people. And I'm just using this as an example. Like, we only see snippets of other people, even if we live with them. even if we have these deep, meaningful relationships with them, like there's so much that we don't see. And there's this need. I feel so anxious. I feel so tense, like talking about like this need to be perfect, the avoidance of being perceived by other people, of like just wanting to get away from perception at all, and judgment and shame, and maybe even like fear of what shame will bring. There's just a really big cloud of shame right now around whatever the situation is. And I just want to like demystify it a little bit and just affirm that like you are not defined by the weirdest shit you've ever done. Like, you are not defined by the worst thing that you've ever done. And everybody is going to have their own perception of who you are. And you are the only one who really knows your truest self, that embodies this truest self, that like lives in this body and contains all these different versions of yourself. And I just want to give them all love and care. And I just want to remind you to please be kind to yourself, to practice self compassion, to practice patience, not just for yourself, but for other people. And it doesn't mean like absolving people of their, you know, actions, or absolving yourself completely without like any rehabilitation or accountability, anything like that. But I'm just saying, you're not perfect. And that's not the end of the world. And please don't let it be. So maybe right now you are coming out of that and embodying, like, okay, I cannot be stuck in this like shame place forever. I cannot keep making these same decisions. I need to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I just need to keep swimming. And slowly you will start to see the light again. You'll start feeling like yourself again. I think about that one like clip of Kylie Jenner. Why am I freaking like referencing these people so much? But like, I just think about this clip where she's like, I really just feel like I'm starting to be myself again. Like, I'm getting my personality back. And maybe that's true for you. This is just like a little vibe that is embodying this card right now. And maybe you feel like yourself, but better, because you learned something, you're changing, you're becoming more aligned with what your values are, what you want to be, who you want to be. But yeah, just sending you love, sending you patience. It's okay. I'm sorry that that happened. I'm not saying that it's okay that it happened, but more things will happen. Not as a threat, but just as like, you know, it's not going to be the only thing, like the center of your world, because you are responsible for filling up your life with a bunch of different experiences, a bunch of different lessons and wisdom that you're gaining. And yeah, I'm just going to land that plane there. Shroot, take it away.
Yeah, first of all, I'm clipping that. That was a threat, and I love it. Second of all, I like that we have this contrast because I don't watch reality TV. The last reality TV I watched was Jersey Shore, and I was 10 toes down for Jersey Shore. But the reason I liked Jersey Shore was because it wasn't scripted. And the second it started getting scripted, like I'm out. Because of what you're saying, which is that there's so much going on behind the scenes. There's so much going on that's unaired footage, that would completely change our perception of these things, but wouldn't have, we don't know they exist, so we don't factor them into possibility. We don't have all the information, so I don't like drawing conclusions about people on reality TV because we don't have all the information. Um, and it's also funny seeing all the Love Island commentary because um, I think it's really funny when people approach reality TV of like from a rational mind of like, why would they do that? That's so hurtful and this and that. And oh my God, this says something about their character and this and that. And it's like, you are literally tuning in because they are acting irrationally. Like the crux of this is the irrationality. It's kind of the point. And I think that's really a emblematic of where we are in society, where we are in such a deeply irrational world right now, and we are insisting on applying a rational lens to a deeply irrational world. And it is producing the most unbelievable cognitive dissonance. And I think it's trickling down into people who would have never considered themselves to have that kind of cognitive dissonance. And so I think I'm seeing it a lot in Love Island watchers, where I'm like, oh, I think you're probably applying this kind of rationality to other parts of your life that are just inherently irrational right now. Like, we are not living in rational times. I keep saying that because it's true. And so applying a rational lens to irrational experiences, life events, like realities, like it's such an incomplete picture. And not only that, it is a picture filled with judgment and shame, like Stevie said. And I was thinking about how, so the astrology I think that's relevant here is that Mars is in Virgo right now. And if Mars is the planet that has to do with the energy we bring to everything that we do, it's the planet around fighting, it's the planet around and because I'm censoring that, maybe it's the planet around doing the do. Um, so it's like a very like friction oriented, conflict oriented, passion oriented planet. And being in the sign of Virgo is not great. Sorry if you have this placement. It's tough because Mars is all about just taking action, like we talked about in the audience question. If Mars is about taking action, Virgo is about thinking it through first and applying judgment, applying reason, applying logic to action. And so a lot of times it's like, again, a way that that shows up is applying rationality as like, oh, that's how I'm taking action. I'm being rational. And it's like, no, you're not, because we are not living in rational times. It's impossible to be rational in irrational times. Like, and I also think that so on August 6th, we're going to have Mars move into Libra. And so I kind of think that we're in this transitional period as a society right now where um if holding all the different versions of you feels heavy and like too much to bear, then it's really important to consider like what like baggage is attached to all these versions of you, and specifically the baggage that you have around the judgments that you're ascribing to these versions of you. So if Stevie's saying like, there are versions of you that have done imperfect things, there are versions of you that have shown up in ways that you're not happy about, like attaching the weight of that emotion to those things is like that's the thing that's actually dragging you down. It's not the fact that you did XYZ thing. It's the fact that you are still holding on to the shame or the judgment or the fear or the anger or whatever of the thing that you did. And so this is a good period of time to think about like what does it look like for the next like 2, 3 months? Like what does it look like to um like start to like try to put down these weights, and start to just try to be and create space for all versions of you to exist without being like weighed down by these like anchors, like allow the North Node in the sky in Pisces right now, allow it to um like elevate you, like allow it to like lift up all these versions of you and allow yourself to put down all of these judgments that you have of these versions of yourself. And what you'll notice, and because I've been actively doing this, what you'll notice is that like it frees up so much more space in your consciousness and in your mind and in your like emotional capacity to just be neutral. Like I think that a lot of what we need right now is way more neutrality. Like, and neutrality, again, doesn't seem like a rational response to what's going on in the world right now. But in a world where you are being manipulated by your inability to face your emotions but still experience them anyway, like it is a tool for like outside actors to manipulate you. And if you approach yourself, the world, with a much more neutral approach of like, yes, this is all happening. I'm here, I'm doing XYZ, the world is doing ABC. Like this is all happening, and you kind of actively work to put down the weighted judgments, the ways of looking at and reacting to these things happening. Obviously, I'm not talking about like human rights violations, right? Like human rights violations, bad. Full stop, right? We can, I'm not talking about those types of things, but the more complicated, everything else, everything that's in the gray area, it's really helpful to just say, okay, these are all the things I'm experiencing judgment about. Literally write them down on a piece of paper and leave the piece of paper behind. Like, make it like a really active practice of just learning to be neutral with yourself and be neutral with what's happening. And again, neutral doesn't mean don't take action, right? Action is way more important right now than having like kind of spinning the wheel of the emotions and saying that you're applying a rational lens to it. It's like, no, like be neutral, but be focused in your action. Like, I think there was a specific mayoral primary race in NYC that employed the strategy extremely successfully. So if you want an example, a concrete example of what I'm talking about, go look into the mayoral primary of New York City that just happened because that's exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, so just really try to think, okay, from a personal lens, how do I be with myself without all of these judgments? How do I actively work to put these things down? And from like a collective standpoint, how do you work to approach things with a much more neutral, focused, action-oriented lens? Because that's going to be very hard these next 2, 3 months because Mars is not happy in Virgo or Libra. Mars is like, I would like to lose the plot. I'm begging. Like, and I'm going to lose the plot and be so convinced it's the right thing to do because I'm thinking my way through this with Virgo, Mars and Virgo. And then with Mars and Libra, I'm looking to everybody else for what to do. And that's what everybody else is doing. So that's what I'm going to do too. And I don't encourage it. It's not a good strategy. So appreciate neutrality, appreciate putting down the judgments, appreciate, focused, concentrated, actions, and appreciate that you just don't know the full scope of what's going on. And that's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's happening anyway. So, neutrality is a much more sustainable lens with which to approach everything, including reality TV. So yeah.
Wow, what a doozy.
Sorry to get
Why?
on my Aquarius soapbox.
As an Aquarius moon, I'm here for it. Okay, you ready for the last card?
Hell yeah.
Okay, the last card is Ace of Wands reversed, and it is depicting someone who is like, whoa, I see their little skeleton. Okay, I never noticed that before. I okay, it's somebody who is just standing in front of a portal, watching it glow, but just there. No indication that they're going to take a step or go through. They're just right there. So this card feels like a callback to the card I pulled for our audience question, the moon. And it feels like there's a desire to create something or to do something, but there is a much stronger resistance to actually taking the steps outside of your comfort zone, which is fair. I think I wouldn't be surprised if many of us are in a freeze state. And so this feels very appropriate. And maybe it's a stark contrast to like the life that you're learn maybe like what you want to create or what you want to do is a stark contrast to the life that you're living right now or the life that you have learned to uphold and the values and the behaviors that you've learned to uphold. But with everything that's happening in this world right now, as we have referenced many times, it is very important for you to find the things in your life that keep the light and sparkle in your eyes. I mean that very, like, I don't know. I just want to put an emphasis on that. I remember when I was in grad school, it was we had like shifted online for the pandemic and we were still like, what is it, required or expected to produce the academic rigor of, I don't know, a graduate program. And I remember very vividly of one of my professors kind of like talking to the class about how we're not showing up or we're not. like basically we're not trying hard enough to do the work. And the things that we're producing are not graduate level like writings or projects or whatever. And I just remember unmuting myself and being like, I don't think we care. I'm looking at myself right now and there is no light in my eyes, and that scares me. And it's really hard to think that any of us have the capacity to do these things at the like expectations or the standards that we were once held up to. Like people are dying. Kim, there's people that are dying. Third reference of the episode. I hate myself for this, but that's okay. You guys are seeing the real me.
That's a perfect reference. It's evergreen. That's my favorite reference.
But I just, I would not have been able to graduate from this program if I did not have my friends. And if we were not all holding the space for each other and finding ways to still laugh and experience joy and to cry with each other and to be angry with each other and to commiserate. And that is what got me through the pandemic and through grad school. Like, I wanted to drop out of grad school bad with 3 months left. I didn't think I could make it. I was very upset with my program, and I was really disgusted by the field in general for many things. Um, but it was important for me to find ways to find light, to find joy and fun amidst all of this chaos, amidst so many people dying, amidst all of these structural, institutional like things that were being upended. And yeah, TBT 2020, 2021, the years following today, like we will always need to find a way to take care of ourselves and to feel connected and to find joy and to laugh. Because if we are just in this space where we feel despair and we feel hopeless and numb, that's a dangerous place to be. And I don't want us to be there. And collectively, I don't want us to be there either. So, what do you keep daydreaming about? What is beckoning you? What is something that you want to create? What is another butterfly? Yeah, yellow butterfly. Um, yeah, what do you want to do? Do you want to learn how to scuba dive? Do it. Do you want to learn how to speak Spanish? Do it. Do you want to take a pole dancing class? Go ahead, do it. Like, find something that brings you joy and that feels like it is connecting you to something outside of yourself, something that connects you to the world or to other people. Say yes to yourself. Don't make excuses. Many parts of the world and life are saying no to you. So you have this responsibility to yourself and to me. So, okay, that is this card. Ace of Wands reversed.
I
True.
love this. I have a perfect call to action. So, listener, I'm talking to you. I want you to let us know in the next month via email, DM, voice note. Let us know, what active choice did you say yes to that brought you joy and connection? And what did that do for you? We want to know. And we'll tell you. I'm going to put a note to tell you the next episode what we actually, I already know what we have because I forgot to mention it on the outset. But me and Stevie, we're meeting up next week. As of recording this, it'll be the same week. It'll be 2 days after this episode airs. Stevie and I will unite once again. And shout out to again our, bestie we mention every episode, Andrew. He is the reason he is assembling the Avengers for, Miss Cowboy Carter. We are so blessed and so grateful to be able to link up like that again after 2 years. And like that is the thing that me and Stevie opted into. We're both tired as hell. We're both, strapped. It was not easy for us to make this happen. But we said yes. And we are going to bring you that moment of joy and connection next episode. I'm forcing us to take, I have a list because we didn't do it last time. We have no pictures together. So we are going to bring you the evidence of our joy and connection next episode. So we are asking you, community, to do the same with us. We would like to see your evidence, and feel free to send pictures. We would prefer that via Instagram. Like I said, I don't really want to open attachments on email, so just for what that's worth, Instagram is a much better choice for us. But yeah, we want to see it. We would like your evidence of joy and connection that you opted into, even though life is tough. Um, Bring it to us next, and we'd love to share next episode what you've shared with us. So yeah, oh, I love this because again, it summed up my astrology points that I didn't get to, and I was like, how am I gonna combine these two things into one topic? And then you did it in your thing, and I was like, oh, perfect, I get to ride off your coattails. Amazing. On July 25th, the sun is in Leo, and it's going to be opposite retrograde Pluto in Aquarius. So this year's Leo season is very much, the main character is the Pluto in Aquarius. And if Leo energy, and especially the sun being at home in Leo energy, is about heart-centered authentic self-expression, your heart-centered passions, and Pluto is all about what are the buried things, the buried wounds that we are not confronting that are coming up for healing or re-traumatization. The question to ask yourself, especially in August or like, starting, end of July, is what parts of your authentic self are you not willing to face, but you're being asked to face anyway? So this is again what I had said about Mars and Virgo, right? The heaviness, the multitudes, how can you just be with yourself? How can you spend, July making space for yourself so that July, end of July into August, you can actually just face those authentic parts of yourself? Because ultimately, this upcoming month is about making tough choices to stay committed to the things that we want to be committed to. And we can't really know what that looks like if we don't spend time with ourselves and like dream, like Stevie had said. So that's really important to kind of keep in mind. And then just in time, the last half of July to be spending doing this kind of self-reflection and being present with yourself in this way. In the first half of August, we've got Venus in Cancer, and there's going to be a lot of transits to Venus in Cancer. And then we've also got those transits to the Mars and Libra that I had mentioned. And so those cardinal signs that are so much about being in relation to other people, they're asking us to consider the thoughts and feelings of other people in our lives after we've spent a month in relationship to our true convictions and self-expression. So if you can spend the next like couple weeks like being in connection with yourself and connection to your convictions and making, the tough choices to stay committed to the things you want to be connected to, then spend August being like, okay, what does everybody else in my life have to say about this? How does that make me feel? Like really consider the other perspectives of people in your life, and not just like the perspectives about what you're going through, but also really try to tap in with the perspectives of what they're going through. Really try to be in connection both emotionally and like informationally, relationally, about what you guys are all experiencing. So that's really important to keep in mind because it can deepen your connection to yourself and to the people in your life that you love. And I think if you're kind of at a loss of like, or maybe it's a habit to only connect about the strife, to only connect about the stress. I think this is the perfect opportunity, like Stevie said, to okay, make an active practice to connect to the joy, connect to the gratitude. Where can you find those points of meeting in the middle? So yeah, I'll end it there.
Oi, oi, oi.
Any final thoughts?
Absolutely no thoughts.
Just feelings. Just
Just
plenty of
feeling.
feelings. Yeah, well, listener, we are rooting for you. We are rooting for ourselves. We are so grateful for this community, and we hope it is a supportive, wonderful community to you as well. We want to thank our audience member who submitted a question. We want to thank all of you audience members who have ever given us feedback, who have ever commented on anything, shared any of our posts, talked about our podcast with anybody in your life. If you've ever applied the strategies we've suggested, we really appreciate you, and we are so thrilled to be in community together. So keep it up. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, any feedback, we would love to hear it. Feel free to email us or message us online. And yeah, if you're going through it, oh, I have a workshop coming up. I should plug. I have the money management workshop coming up on July 19th, which is focused around essentially developing a healthier relationship to your feelings around money management. So it's regardless of how much you're making, regardless of whether you're doing well financially or you're really like stressed out about money. It's about being really intentional and developing a new relationship to your feelings around emotion. So I recommend checking that out. Link is in the show notes, and we're doing the new moon workshop the weekend after that. I believe it's the 26th, whatever the Saturday after the 19th is, and we're going to focus on intentions around being honest with ourselves. Like one of my favorite intentions we're going to set is I like being honest with myself for the Leo new moon. So check that out. You can book readings with either of us. All of our links are in the show notes. You can find us all on social media in the show notes, and thanks for being here.
Yay. Okay. See y'all next Tuesday.